Ozonics Killerwinds podcast, back again. He's Nick, I'm Cole, last name Simon, last name Tanner. Let's get into it.
Let's roll.
I'll tell you what, this is the podcast, not going to lie, that I have been excited. I've been looking forward to for a while.
It feels like this is really where it's going to start turning the corner.
Exactly. This feels, when we get into this, everything I feel like from this point moving forward, Labor Day weekend, Labor Day on, which, by the way, happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day, everybody.
If you're listening to this right now, or the week of Labor Day. Sorry you're back at work.
Yeah.
Hope you had a good Labor Day.
Yep.
Labor Day feels like the start of it.
Yes.
It feels like if there was a countdown clock for the game, the clock started.
Yep.
Here we go.
It's time.
Everything's going to start heating up.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, there are already things that are heating up.
Yeah.
If you're that guy that had an opportunity to go to some Western states, Canada, Alaska, things have been going for 3 weeks already.
Yeah.
We're already seeing it. I've been all jazzed up looking at pictures on social media. Guys dropping some big bulls already.
Yep.
Some elk.
It's only going to pick up, too, throughout September.
Yep. Got some buddies that have killed some awesome caribou.
Yep.
In Alaska. Everything's starting to go.
Yeah.
Hunting seasons are here.
Finally.
They're here.
They're here. They're back.
Hunting seasons are back.
Feels so good.
So what are we talking about today? Today we're going to talk about, we're going to do a little riff sesh at the beginning here, a little riff sesh. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've got on camera. Talk about trail cameras all the time. We really like trail cameras. Talk about what we got on trail camera. Got some exciting news about trail cameras.
Yep.
And then some updates on that. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the bucks we got on the hit list. Some that are really taking shape. Get pretty excited about.
Yeah.
A couple new nicknames that are out there.
Yep.
Been floating around.
Yep.
Then we're going to talk about what's happening with the deer right now, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the fact that by now, in the Midwest, velvet is starting to come off.
Yeah, definitely.
And not only does when they shed the velvet, that's a big deal, but just seems like the behavior, personality of these deer starts to change.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that. We're talking a little bit about the science and the facts, biology behind deer growing antlers. We're going to talk a little bit about what happens this time of year and what they're doing. And if you do have an opportunity, if you are maybe looking at doing early muzz, if youth season is right around the corner, some of the strategies that you may be able to think about doing and understand what's happening with the deer, kind of what their mentality is from our own experiences. Yep. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And like you said, it's all gearing up. Like I said, everything points to here comes hunting season.
Yep.
We're not, we talked earlier in previous podcasts, a while back about the lull, and man, the lull can be rough.
Yeah.
I feel like we found plenty to do.
Yeah.
But
the lull as in summertime.
Yep. The summertime lull. That Memorial Day, 4th of July, June, July, summer, where it just all feels like just time just
slowly
dragging by.
On.
It's a beautiful time of year. I love summertime.
Yeah.
But it's awesome when the fall starts to get here.
Yeah,
I even saw a couple bean fields turning yellow already.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've definitely kept busy because we keep talking about how last year at this time we didn't even have cameras out on public land yet.
Yep.
You had cameras out.
Yep.
But I simply didn't have any.
Yep.
So it's
and I never took mine down.
Yeah.
I just went straight from turkey season to deer season.
Yeah.
And I just left them out.
And that's basically what we did this year too.
Just took them from the turkey spots, moved them up a little bit higher on the tree.
Yeah.
And put them on my summer spots and started watching velvet bucks.
Yep. Yeah, actually no, the time that we took it off was between deer and turkey season.
Yep.
Took them off in the winter just for a little bit. Pull them out, take the cartridges out, their trays, I should say. Let them air out a little bit, and then they were right back in action within like a month.
Yeah, there wasn't much downtime.
Yeah.
My wife hasn't been happy about that because
Yeah.
she's like, really, do we need this subscription fee or whatever? Plus how many $5 surcharges for all the HD pics that I keep
And
downloading.
it's like, yeah, we need that.
It's very important.
yeah, we need that.
See, the thing about me is I'm doing HD pics. You're doing HD videos all the time.
Yeah, an aggressive amount. Yeah.
If a squirrel walks by with like an extra poofy tail,
No.
you're HD videoing it.
No, I did get an HD video of a big old Tom walking by the other day, though.
How often do you go through 50 where you have to pay the extra $5? What's that, like a bi-weekly deal for you?
No. Like once every 2 weeks. It gets bad. The other day I was at I think I had like 10 left. And the next day I was at like 55.
You'd gone through the 10 and you were already down to like 20 on the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, it's worth it. I love doing that. I love the videos.
Yep. But on the subject of trail cameras, that's one of the exciting things. So this episode's airing on Labor Day. As of August 28th, we had our first hardhorn pick.
Yep. First hardhorn pick at a public spot that.
Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's at a public spot.
We say too much about our public spots, I've realized.
Yeah.
It's on a public spot.
It's on a public spot.
And there he was, hard-horned. He was probably probably a year and a half year old 8-pointer, maybe
6-pointer, I think.
Okay,
he was.
okay, just a little
Good 6-point though.
Yeah, just a basket rack thin horn.
Yeah.
But hey, there he was.
Yeah, he was.
When you usually hear about bigger bucks shed early and littler bucks shed later, but he was already shed.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. That spot has been kind of slow, but would have been like 2 weeks ago. We actually had a buck come in and make a scrape right in front of the camera.
Yep.
So
and he was still in velvet.
He was still in velvet. Real nice 8-pointer. So that was kind of cool. We saw that, and then less than a week after, there was a hardhorn buck.
Yep.
So
well, and the other thing I'll say is I've had an opportunity to do some depredation hunting. With the depredation hunting that I do, like I said, it's either bucks or does. I kind of abide by the old adage of whatever walks in.
Yeah.
And it just so happens, especially hunting over these bean fields that I'm trying to keep deer off of, basically.
Yeah.
A couple small bucks have walked in, had an opportunity to harvest, 3 or whatever it's been.
Yep.
And first thing, when you were with me on that first thing I did when we walked up to it is I went right for the horn tips.
And they were definitely hard.
Yep, they were definitely hard. You could definitely feel hard horns underneath.
Yeah.
So everything's drying out.
Yeah.
When you shoot them earlier than this, and when I've shot them in July, you feel the tips, and it feels like you're like playing with like Nintendo joysticks.
Yeah, it's like a joystick. Yeah.
Yep, they're like really soft, and they like move all around.
Yeah.
But now they were hard. Like you didn't feel any movement. It was just the velvet. Basically, you could tell it was drying out. There wasn't much protecting them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was cool to see that. But yeah, you can just tell all the bucks. I mean, we've had a couple bucks that have been pretty consistent. You can just tell that it's getting thinner and thinner by the day. It's just like any second here, everything's going to be hard horn. So
yeah. And it's a little bit of an adjustment, right? Because you see bucks in velvet all summer and they look so like they have so much mass.
Yeah.
Because they just kind of do. You know what I mean? Because the hair of the velvet and just the velvet in and of itself makes everything look bigger.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it can be kind of like, when you see him hard horned.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you're just like, man, he's way thinner than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But with that said, too, we've got a buck that we started nicknaming World Traveler last year. Talked about him on the pod.
Yep.
That we've had within 24 hours, we had him, a mile and a half?
It was a mile and a half.
Yeah, apart. Like he's here one evening and the next morning he's over there.
Yeah.
So probably figured he was a 2.5-year-old last year.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Now he's definitely 3 or 4.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And he definitely put on a lot.
He put on a ton.
Yep. He went out and he went up.
Yeah,
he
put
went
on some mass too, it looks like.
He went up big time.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's him. He's got a tuft of hair on his neck.
Yeah.
That makes him pretty recognizable if he gets his head down in a certain way.
Yeah.
And you spotted that.
Yeah.
So he's definitely there.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's still doing his world traveling, which makes me think he's a bit younger, right?
Yeah.
Because from my experience, it seems like younger bucks, their home area is bigger.
Yeah.
And the bigger bucks, their home area just gets smaller. But he's definitely doing some traveling.
Yeah.
And again, like we don't have cameras on the neighbors,
Yeah.
but we see him coming by camera and then going that direction.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all of a sudden he's gone for days on end.
Yeah.
And then he shows up again.
Yeah.
And when we see him, he walks by, and then is gone again.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, he comes back by, walks
Yeah.
by, is gone.
Yeah.
And so he's definitely making his little route.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's exactly what it did last year. I mean, there was one hunt in particular where we literally watched him come from as far as we could see him, and he walked pretty much right into us.
Yep.
But yeah, he's a beautiful buck.
Yeah, no, he would be an awesome deer to harvest.
Yeah.
He'd be a really awesome deer to let one more year go by.
Yeah.
But golly, I've already said this, and I don't know if I've said this on the pod yet officially, but I think we did talk about this at the goals of the season.
Yeah.
Yep. My big goal this year is to try to I'd love to get Jed a buck of some kind.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a little basket rack, maybe a spiker.
Yeah.
He told me he didn't even know what it was called, but he's like, yeah, Dad, I just want a deer rack with like the skull. And then I just want to like carry it around,
Your own mount.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He brought this little spiker that I have on the, it was actually in the garage, and he brought up to me that he's like, Dad, see this right here? See this? See that? That's tree bark. It's still in his horns. And I was like, yeah, man, that's pretty cool. So that's all he wants is a buck.
Yeah.
So the goal is to get him a buck, and I'd really like to get you a nice buck.
Yeah.
Yep. And so if World Traveler walks by, he better be ready to get poked with a broadhead. Just a little touch, just for a second, and then let him run away, and then crappie flop.
Oh, he's just so big.
Yeah, he's a good-sized deer. That's a really nice deer. And like you said, he's not a 180-inch deer, but he's definitely 140.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. And so, he's a nice deer. Be a cool deer to shoot.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yep. And then we've got another deer that we had history with from last year. I don't know why you named him Doc, but I guess his name's Doc.
I don't think we had history with him last year.
Oh, really? I thought we did.
I don't recognize him.
Oh, we had history with that tall, tight 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was I'm pretty sure on camera this morning.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. My bad.
You're good. You're good.
But one of the things that we've been doing as well this year is we've got out some trophy rock kind of mineral sites.
Yeah.
I've done that in years past. It's just been a few years since I did it. And so it's been kind of fun on these permission pieces. We've got a couple trophy rock spots out.
Yeah.
And oh man, dude, on this one, it is like they're trying to dig the Grand Canyon.
It's bad.
I mean, it is hoofed out, dug out.
It's crazy.
It is so crazy. We put in a trophy rock, like a block, not the rock, but like this block.
Like a cattle block.
Yep. Set it down in there. And they licked it from underneath of it, and it just kept falling down.
Yeah.
Like it was like eating a snow cone the opposite way. You know what I mean? It was all just like neck down at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then we put another trophy rock in there, and they've got that licked down.
Yeah.
But there's been a buck that's been going in there that's just a nice, wide, tall,
good brows.
8.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he's
a 9.
He's a 9, maybe a 10. I don't know if you can hang a key or hang out that choker,
But it's kind of cool because we've had him on there. We've had him on there consistently, and so we kind of moved a couple cameras around in this one place we call the thicket, and figured out a way to get a camera a little bit higher. Walked along this bean field, you could see where I experienced with that area too, knowing that they kind of come across that field there, and we kind of put the camera in there. I was like, I feel like we need to try to cut this. This looks like where they're walking. The first picture we got, he came from the east, walked right through the bean field, came right by the camera, turned left, and went exactly down that trail we thought.
Yeah.
Path of least resistance.
Yeah.
He's been a cool deer to see too, and he would be a nice deer for you to harvest as well.
Yeah, he's been around a ton too. There was a couple of weeks ago. I counted. He was there 7 of the 8 days
in a row.
In a row. I mean, he's just there. I think he's bedding right there. I mean,
yeah,
you'll see him with a bunch of cockleburrs all over him and stuff like that. But
which is there's this creek bottom and it's real thick and nasty,
super thick.
Yeah, it's just jungle.
Yeah,
and obviously that's where he is.
Yeah, he's a really nice deer.
Yep.
But yeah, public spots. I mean, there's some bucks.
Well, I think and we're going to talk about this in a future podcast here in the next few weeks, but that was one of the things that having the ability to use trail cameras again, we were really interested to see. Yeah. And that's one thing that I felt like was going to happen, and is exactly what did happen, is that we were able to see and kind of inventory what we had on private permission pieces because of the trophy rock.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
To be able to get him in front of the camera and not just kind of a blurry walk by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And consistently, night after night after night, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And actually, what we're going to talk about later, understanding a little bit about when a deer's growing their velvet and how that actually works, to know that, that whole idea behind minerals that really helps and it supplements during a time of year when their body is going through a really big change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And trying to grow antlers.
Yeah.
And so, it really allowed us to be able to get a good opportunity to see what's out there.
Yeah.
On the public spots, it's just, I love being able to use trail cameras on public land. Like I said, I'm glad the state changed it back.
Yeah.
It's been super fun.
Yeah.
But again, it's just the summer months can be tough.
Yeah, exactly. And,
I
think like we said right away, I think right now is the turning point, even just last night, found us, opened up scrape, put a camera on it. Obviously there's some does on there, but I feel like once those scrapes start opening up kind of everywhere, that's when the inventory kind of starts for public land, just with not being able to use anything really.
Yep.
And not a lot of ag fields, yada, yada, yada. So,
well, and that's the other thing that I would say too is, I feel like there's different groups or perspectives on the deer season.
Yeah.
There's the group that we're in, which is like the obsessive compulsive, season never stops. We never sleep.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Always full throttle. Yeah. Right. And then there's the group that's maybe works smarter rather than harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there's I don't even hunt until the last week in October.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the gung-ho group like you and me, we've got cameras out all summer. We're watching them even when they're just like nubbing up and, and doing all that. But I feel like September lends itself more to the guy that maybe wants to work a little bit smarter rather than harder.
Yeah.
But this is a great time of year, like you said, to put some boots on the ground. Not that you're trying to put a bunch of pressure on a spot, but if you are hunting public land, to put in some time, put in some miles. Like I said, I've honestly been coveting Nick quite a bit about his e-bike because I got a chance to use it, and that thing is way cooler than I thought and way more helpful. I never thought I would ever be like, oh man, I want an e-bike. I really want one now because that was so nice. It took hours worth of work into like 20 minutes of trying to drag 2 deer out of the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was just like, wow, this is way better.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you can put some time in on public land, and when you get into the first part of September, knowing that these bucks are shedding their velvet and they're gonna start making scrapes.
Yeah.
And they may even start rubbing as well, right?
Yeah.
You can find those real first scrapes that you find. Probably a good chance that you're going to see that throughout the entire season, right? That's from a deer perspective. That's them. That's a community scrape that they're saying, "Hey, I'm in this area.
Yeah.
Who else is here? What other bucks are here?" And they start to really figure out that pecking order and the hierarchy of who's going to be the dominant buck, who's going to be the guy that this is his domain,
right?
Where these does are his. You know what I mean? And that's what September does. And if you can find those spots, you can find those scrapes, you can go into a piece of public and you go, wow, this is jungle. And then you all of a sudden open up into this that's just beat down, browse down, and then there's already this dirt spot.
Yeah.
Okay, probably a good spot to hang a camera.
Yeah.
AKA what you did yesterday. You went out and, we talked after, you're like, dude, oh my gosh, found it.
Yeah.
And then the next morning there's 4 does standing right over it. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, definitely.
Where there's does, there's bucks. And so that's what September can mean.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a great time. And then, like I said, if you're the guy that doesn't hunt till October, more power to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I know people that are in all 3 of those. I've got buddies that do the don't even worry about it till October.
Yeah.
I got to do something. I just got that scratch. I got to itch.
Oh yeah.
Without a
doubt. Yep.
But no, it's an exciting time of year.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of year.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good segue right into talking about kind of what we're coming out of with velvet. You know what I mean? And one of the things that, like I said, just doing some research, and then again, going off of what I've just learned over the years, and I think you too. And I think what we hear a lot, actually, we did a podcast basically a year ago right now or sometime around there, with a guy named Dwayne Diefenbach for state of Pennsylvania. They do this big deer study. And it was really, really interesting to hear him talk about, some of the things that we as hunters really hang our hat on.
Yeah.
And some of it you could tell he just didn't agree with. And I think from his perspective, academically, just based on the facts, didn't agree with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
But one of the things that I think that when you start to read into, and you just look at a deer's year, you know what I mean? From when they're born in the spring and they go through the spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. It's what you start to really realize is I think one of the things that maybe kind of gets overlooked and not talked about enough is what you'll hear and what you'll hear on the Iowa DNR website and different things. And when you research, it talks about the photo period, which is the amount of light in the day.
Yeah.
And how much that really affects what happens.
Yeah.
Do you follow me?
Yeah.
Dwayne, I actually went back and listened to that Dwayne Diefenbach podcast that we did. And you hear him talking about, even when you look at a doe, right? She's trying to, and the evolution year after year after year of these deer being bred and being born and being bred and being born, those does try to be bred so that when the gestation period comes back to the spring, that those fawns are born at a time when they can have the opportunity to get as much food that they can and survive. They don't want to be too early because they get a late spring, they get a late winter, snow, and all of a sudden they die.
Yeah.
They don't want to be too late where then all of a sudden they get to the fall and they're not big enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's like this perfect little window. But again, when you look at when they're bred, again, based on the length of the day, he talked about, he's like, from his perspective, he's like, moon phase, not anything to do with it. Weather, not anything to do with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, it's the length of the day.
Yeah.
And when you start to look at bucks and you look at when they start to grow antlers, it all is based around the length of the day.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yep.
There's some really, again, I'm a fact guy. And I think sometimes what I like about facts and what I like about kind of the nuances of this stuff is it's really interesting to get to learn more about them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%.
If you're a spy, right? Like you just don't go into a new situation with no information. You do your research, right? You learn all about it. If you're trying to pass a test, you study.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really interesting to study and learn about whitetails. Even now, there's a lot of stuff that I kind of heard about. I felt like I knew, but then you really dig in. It's like, dang, that's really, really interesting. So again, right off the bat, deer antlers grow for about 128 days, roughly right in that window. Again, so when they start to grow, it's based around, again, the length of the day. Okay, so one of the things that's interesting about bucks, and I think what's really cool about this time of year as well, is just how does go through this period of, gestation during the winter and the spring, and then they have their fawns, and then again in the fall, then they come back in to be bred again, right?
Yeah.
So there's this ebb and flow of what a deer is going through, a doe, female deer, right? But bucks are doing the same type of thing. And that flow, a lot of it is based on their testosterone level. Do you follow me?
Yep.
So that's what I think is so fun about Labor Day. And when they start to shed their velvet, that's really when that testosterone drip inside their body starts to just go, if it was an IV, it just goes up and up and up and up. August, late August, September, October, and late October, November, it gets to that fever pitch. And then it starts to drop off again. Do you follow me? And so, again, what's really interesting about some of the stuff that I never heard before that I was like, wow, that's a cool fact. Velvet, okay, is actually the fastest growing animal tissue in the world. Can grow up to 1/4 inch a day.
That's crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Which actually is really cool. If it's funny, I never even thought about doing this, but if you could, we could probably do the calculation. A 200-inch whitetail, which again, a 200-inch whitetail is all these other measurements together. But if you just looked at a shed, right, and you go to the Iowa Deer Classic and you see a single side shed and it's like a 95-inch shed, divide 95 inches by 128 days.
Right.
That's how much that antler's growing per day.
Yeah, exactly.
And really, the last couple weeks or the last month, it's not even really growing. It's really just drying out.
Yeah.
So the 128 day may even be less than that. It could be 100 days.
Yeah.
So 95-inch antler could be growing an inch a day potentially.
Crazy.
You know, it said up to it said a quarter inch, but it said it could be up to an inch is what I saw in different research as well.
Yeah.
It grows a lot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a quarter an inch a day? That's crazy. Do you imagine if you grew a quarter of an inch a day?
Yeah.
Every week you grew like almost, a couple inches?
Yeah.
Like that's wild.
Yeah.
Like think about that. So again, it's kind of neat to know that velvet is the fastest growing tissue in the world.
Yeah.
When it comes to animals. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And I think what you said about the testosterone kind of starting to build and stuff like that, I feel like I personally saw that this year, velvet filming. There was some times where there would be 8, 9 different bucks in a spot. You go back to that spot, they're there again.
Yep.
They're there again, they're there again, they're there again. Well, now in the last week, you struggle to see anything out there. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just, like you said, that testosterone level building. They're kind of figuring stuff out, and it's just getting less and less, and they're starting to, get that pecking order, and you can really see that coming into shape right now in these late summer months for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we can put up that trail camera pic. I've got a trail camera pic on one of the permission pieces. Jet loves check trail cameras every day, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, look, 2 bucks fighting." And there's 2 little small bucks that are in velvet, but obviously they're almost ready to shed.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there and they're sparring in front of the camera. They're tinking, you know what I mean? They're just they're nudging each other. They're just pushing each other a little bit. They're just trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
You follow me? But going back to, again, looking at their velvet, one of the things that I was like, whoa, I never knew. So there's a condition that people have called osteoporosis, which basically means like your bones are weak. Okay. So, you always hear people like, oh, if you don't drink enough milk, you're going to get osteoporosis. Uh-huh. So bone, right? Like the thing you got to remember, and I think we all kind of say this, I just think kind of matter of factly, deer don't grow horns. They grow antlers, right? Yeah. Horns are much different than antlers. Horns grow continuously an animal's entire life. Yeah. Except for like antelope, they shed their horn every year, which is kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
But a horn it has a bone, it's basically 2 parts. It has a bone core, right? Like if you've ever seen an antelope or a sheep and you pull their horn off, it literally, you'll see this almost like this like cylinder cone, like ice cream cone looking thing. That's the bone.
Yeah.
And then the horn goes over that. The horn is actually basically like your fingernail, right? It's keratin. It's like hair-like that grows into a horn, okay? Like a cow grows horns, okay? But deer, elk, they're growing antlers. The antlers grow, and they grow based off of calcium and phosphorus in their body, and then it solidifies and becomes bone. Yeah. And then they shed it, which is just crazy. Interestingly, getting back to what I was trying to say there is deer go through this same type of osteoporosis or weakening of their bones during the year because they have so much of this calcium, so much of these nutrients, essential nutrients for antlers in their body.
Yeah.
So when they grow their antlers, their body pulls those nutrients from their ribs and from their sternum, and it puts them into their antlers. So during the summer months, they go through a point where their bones are weakened and to a point almost brittle.
Yeah.
And then once they grow those horns and the testosterone starts to increase, when it basically and again, I can go through the scientific terms, but basically it grows. And then when it's like, okay, the body says, hey, the light's starting to go down a little bit, testosterone starts to go up, and that nutrient stop. And then the velvet starts to, die basically. Right. Yeah. And it hardens into bone. And then their body goes through a period of like recouping and trying to get back those nutrients so their bones harden again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think, dude, whitetails have a crazy life. They're trying not to get eaten by coyotes, by bobcats, by whatever it might be, right? They're fighting off predators.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, they grow these antlers that weakens their body. And then their velvet sheds, then they're trying to recoup these nutrients that they gave up. And then they go right into the rut, and then they run themselves ragged.
Yeah.
And then it gets really cold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a tough way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really, really interesting to hear about some of that stuff. And then, like you said, and then this time of year, again, when we talk about that photo period and the days start to shorten, that velvet dries and it falls off. Mm-hmm. One of the interesting things too, and we're going to talk a little bit about this towards a little bit later, is when bucks start to rub their antlers, right? And a lot of people, like I never even really knew this, but you see antlers and you see that they're a brown color. You follow me?
Yeah.
So there's actually what they call tannin, which is, it's like on plants. Okay. It's like if you ever just like took a tree and you like pulled the bark back and you felt it, it feels like wet. That's this tannin. Okay. Yeah. So when bucks start to shed their velvet, a lot of times they start to rub. Well, there could be extra velvet or dried blood or blood from that when they shed, and then they start rubbing those antlers. That tannin from a tree and the blood starts to mix, right? And that's what creates that dark color at their bases. Yeah. You follow me?
Yep.
That's why when you see deer in like a high fence and there's no trees around, the antler's just like white as a ghost.
Yeah.
You follow me? Yep. They never have that chance to rub it like that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Obviously, when deer are in cedar trees and there's the sap and the dirt and everything, and it mixes and it just makes those horns darker.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting fact too.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. It's really, really cool stuff. One of the other crazy facts, I was like, holy crap. Did you know that does can grow antlers too?
I have seen that before.
Guess what the chances of it happening are? 1 in 10,000.
Jeez.
So if you ever shoot an antlered doe, man, oh man, you better get that thing mounted.
Yeah.
That's a pretty rare deal.
That is.
So they can grow antlers too, if it really comes to that. So yeah, fastest growing thing, man. It's really, really interesting. And again, to think that they pull those minerals from their body. And that's where I think, again, where the trophy rock can really come in handy, where a mineral can come in handy, where food plots can come in handy to try to give those deer back those nutrients.
More nutrients, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
But to going to what you were saying too, I think I say all this stuff to, again, try to, for me, just to kind of learn and understand deer a little bit more, but it also really helps you kind of understand what's happening in September.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all been there, just like you. You're out velvet scouting and you're out filming on fields and you see these deer, they're out there all of June, they're out there all of July. You see them first part of middle of August. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill this guy, right? I got him on camera every day. He walks by, comes on the field, and there he is at 8:30 at night. I can film him for an hour.
Yeah.
He's got 4 or 5 other bucks with him. Well, guess what? As soon as they shed their velvet, it's like they just, and we've talked about this before, it's like their personality completely changes.
Yeah, 100%.
But what's really happening, again, is deer have their summer range, and then they also have their fall, rutting area.
Yeah.
Right? They have a home range, but that doesn't mean that they just stay within that area 100%. The month of September, what you start to see, again, there is starting to be this pecking order. When that velvet starts to shed, they are trying to communicate more in such a way and figure out where everybody fits in.
Yeah.
But they're also trying, deer in the summer and in September and in a lot of part of October, they're thinking food.
Yeah.
Eat. I need to eat. I'm putting it on, right? And so they start to transition from their summer area to their rut area. And so you just might not see them there quite as often, or if at all.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And again, they start rubbing, they start scraping. Other bucks are doing the same thing, and they're just trying to figure out who is going to be where.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, World Traveler, man, dude, you look like you put on some. You know what I mean? Like, your bigger body, you got bigger horns than you did last year. And all of a sudden, you got this 1.5-year-old that looks pretty studly too. But then you got this 4.5, 5-year-old over here that's doing his thing too.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to figure out where they fall in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep. No, 100%.
So yeah, it's really interesting stuff. And again, Labor Day kind of feels like this gatekeeper where if the testosterone was that IV drip, it just starts increasing, and it changes the deer's behavior.
Yeah.
They're shedding their velvet. All of a sudden, everything just starts to kind of tick up just a little bit, up just a little bit. And again, it just changes. They go from that summer pattern to more of what their fall pattern and thinking about eating. The days are getting shorter. All of a sudden, we're getting a 45-degree night.
Yeah.
It's been 95 and sunny and 75 at night. And all of a sudden, now we got a 50-degree day.
Yeah.
Like, they know that, from a biological perspective, it changes what they do. Does that make sense?
Yep, without a doubt.
The other thing I'll say about that as well is, looking at the length of the day. And again, you know, like the red moon, right? Or moon phase. You know what I mean? Like, man, I don't know. I am a subscriber to the red moon. You know, I look at it. Again, I think one thing that Dwayne Diefenbach really helped us kind of open our eyes to and try to think more objectively is you got to remember when you're sitting in one tree stand, you're seeing this small section of the greater landscape that is the area that you hunt. So the reality is like your one data point is a small subset of what's really happening.
Yeah.
But you also can't deny what you see in that data set, hunt after hunt after hunt.
Yeah.
And I will say that, like, I have seen when the red moon is on, you know what I mean? Seeing more deer movement, and all of a sudden looking on my phone and watching bucks fall, bucks fall, bucks fall. Mm-hmm. And then when it's not a red moon, everybody's saying, what's going on? Can't find a deer to save my life.
Yeah, yeah.
So take that for what it's worth. But one thing that we can look at is kind of, and just starting to kind of think and plan a little bit ahead is where the moon phases are falling for this fall.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, you know, one thing that we talk a lot about, and I always try to look for, is the fall equinox, right? When the length of the day is the same as it is at night as during the day.
Right.
And after the fall equinox, in the summer, it's light longer, dark shorter. And after the fall equinox, it's dark longer, light shorter.
Yep.
Until the spring equinox. Also another fun day to balance an egg, if you've never done that. Did you know you could do that? So you could take an egg and you can take it right on its end. You can only balance it 2 days a year, spring and fall equinox.
Huh.
If you try to do it the day after that, it won't balance.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a funny thing on Instagram. I was like, really? So I, like a couple years ago, I was like, when's fall equinox? And I found it, and I was like, I took it, and you can balance it like in a second. The next day you try to balance it, boom, falls right over.
That's funny.
Yeah. But anyway, fall equinox this year falls on September 22nd. But the bizarre thing about the moon phases this year is that we have what they call super full moons and micro full moons. Okay. A super full moon means that it's bigger than a regular full moon. Micro full moon means it's smaller than a regular full moon. So again, what that would mean is the super full moon is about 14% brighter or 14% bigger than a regular full moon. What that would mean, if you were to look up at it, if you were to try to put that in layman terms, normally the moon looks like the size of a dime.
Yeah.
Super full moon looks the size of a nickel.
Yeah.
So if I had a nickel and a dime, like, you definitely know, okay, that's
Right.
a nickel, that's a dime.
Yeah.
But what it really, I think the brass tacks of it means is brighter.
Yeah.
Super full moon can be 30% brighter. Okay. Interestingly, we have, and super full moons, micro full moons are usually, they're not usually, they are like 2 in a row.
Yeah.
The super full moons this year fall on the full moon before the fall equinox, which is also called the harvest moon. And then the next one. So we have a super full moon on September 17th and October 17th. Full moons are about 29 and a half days apart. So it's not always at the exact same time, but you follow me?
Yep.
So a full moon could happen during the day. It's just when it comes up for us.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Right.
But yeah, so the harvest moon and the super full moon fall the same this year. And so does that really affect whitetail hunters? Man, I don't know. I guess what I've experienced, and I think you could agree with this, is that on full moons, it seems like you see a lot more animals moving at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially elk hunting, right? Man, full moons, I was like, ugh, crap.
Yeah.
I would have rather hunt on a new moon. We talked about this last year.
Yeah.
Full moon, they just do what they do more at night. And now all of a sudden, super full moon is 30% brighter.
Yeah.
So you just
Multiply that.
Put it on boost mode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so, you know, I mean, it's like we know in September deer are obviously still they're still on their nocturnal pattern.
Yeah.
We're not seeing a lot of deer on the hoof. You maybe see them at 8 o'clock at night, but now all of a sudden you get to September and we get a super full moon, and they're definitely kind of nocturnal and they're just laying down all day and really thinking about eating.
Yep.
I would think around that September 17th and that super full moon, that harvest moon, I would assume it's probably going to be a lot of night picks.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you're elk hunting, you might have a couple hard days there.
Yeah.
Where it's only going to be really good right at last light and the first 20 minutes of, you know, shooting light.
Yeah.
And then they're off.
Right.
You know, it could get kind of tough.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like you said, kind of stinks that there's another super full moon into, you know, October 17th.
Right.
But that also is putting a red moon into the beginning of November.
Yeah. First
which
week.
is jackpot.
Yeah.
So that's going to be good.
Yeah.
Again, everybody has a differing opinion on that type of stuff, but you can't deny that it's going to be brighter, and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, exactly.
So pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I could go into Harvest Moon, but we'll save that for another day.
Okay.
So the last thing I really wanted to touch on, again, going right back to what you were saying earlier about the fact of we see their behavior changing, right? What do we also know about in the month of September and in the fall, September, October, that starts to happen is, especially in the Midwest where it seems like the main food source is corn and soybeans.
Yeah.
Right? That's where they are. That's where we see all these deer in the summertime. But that's not the only thing that's out there come September.
Right.
Right? What starts to happen is acorns.
Yep.
And I think the thing that we need to remember is acorns to deer is like candy.
Yeah.
If you go to your local sporting goods store and you walk down the supplement mineral aisle, what do you see on every package?
Yeah, exactly.
Acorns looking like candy.
Yeah.
Because we know over the years that deer love acorns. To them, that is like going in and grabbing a Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
No, 100%.
And so, but it's funny because years ago, I don't know how I got this wild hair, but I thought, you know what? I want to get into forestry. That's what I thought. I was like, man, I think I want to get into forestry. I'm thinking, how can I figure out a job that I can work outside and da-da-da-da. And I started looking at forestry, and there's all these different aspects of forestry. There's like commercial forestry and blah, 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 blah. There's all this stuff. So I started really, really looking into it. Iowa State is a great forestry program. So I started looking into this. Well, I started to realize really quickly that I didn't know anything about trees. I mean, that's like the videos that I saw, things I read. They're like, oh yeah, so like just go outside. There's trees everywhere. Like, and start to identify trees. Geez, dude, I went out there. I was like, I think that's an ash tree. I was like, I think that's a maple. I think that's an oak. I realized, and I was in my early 20s, I'm like, man, I don't know anything about trees.
Yeah.
Right. And I think as whitetail hunters, there's some things that we really should know.
Yeah, definitely.
And the tree as a whitetail hunter that you really want to be able to pick out is an oak tree.
Yeah.
If you can pick out an oak tree, you're on the right track. Mm-hmm. If you can start to identify the difference between a red oak and a white oak and there's a bunch of different trees within those categories, that can really put you on the right track.
Yeah, without
you follow me?
Yeah.
Like you last night. What did you see last night when you found that great spot that was all tore up and a great scrape? What was in there?
100% white oaks.
Yes. No,
Bur oaks.
They were bur oaks, but
yeah.
it's a white oak
Yeah,
tree.
yeah.
Yep, because a bur oak is a white oak.
Yeah.
But it
was
you
95% bur oaks.
there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not ironic.
Yeah.
You follow me? So again, you could be looking for and identifying where oak trees may be. I mean, heck, even on Onyx now, I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
They have an oak tree setting.
Yeah, it's not too.
It's not like it maybe not be completely accurate.
No, but it definitely gives you an idea of what could be in there.
Exactly. Exactly. So like, dude, if you're the person listening to this and you're like, I don't even know, I couldn't tell you, an oak leaf from
exactly.
pine cone. I mean, pine cone, that's a bad example.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't tell you the difference between a red oak and a white oak or an oak tree to a maple tree.
Yeah.
It's like, look at that first. Like, get on Onyx, try to do that. But again, you can identify an oak tree any time of year, by the bark or blah, 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 blah. But it's really easy. It's easier to identify when they have the big old leaves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if you're already out there and if you're the guy that's trying to work a little bit smarter rather than harder, and you go out there and you get in some of these spots and all of a sudden you get into a spot and you're like, yep.
Yeah.
These are all white oaks. And you look on the ground and you see acorns that look a little hairy and you're like, a hairier cap. You're like,
that's a bur oak.
That's a bur oak.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, there's a white oak, right? Or you see acorns that look like they've been there for a while and they're darker colored and look like they may have been there from the previous fall. Well, that's probably a red oak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you can start to identify and know that in September, white oaks are a great place to be.
Yeah.
Or start to understand that, okay, this is where I had this buck in the summer. This is the bean field he was on. Mm-hmm. This is where I think his bedding area is.
Yeah.
Well, now I've established and identified this is where this white oak ridge is or white oak flat.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, okay, well, before maybe I would have sat in the middle between the bedding and the bean field. Well, now maybe I want to transition to go in between that bedding and that oak flat.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yep.
All of a sudden, if we're not seeing him on the bean field, where is he going? He's still eating somewhere.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't see him during the day, but if you're trying to put cams up, that's a great area. And then all of a sudden, ironically, you find scrapes between those bedding and feeding areas, between those bedding and those white oak patches. You follow me?
Yep.
So if you're a guy that's taking your son or daughter youth hunting, if you can find those white oak pieces, and you can find those acorns, that's a great place to try to be.
Yeah. Not at all.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting about oak trees and acorns in general, again, something new that I also learned, and I kind of heard about this before, but to really make sure that I was saying it the right way, inside an acorn is what they call tannic acid or tannin, okay? If you were to go out and you had a red oak and a white oak sitting right there and you picked up both the acorns, first off, if you just like peeled it off and like stuck it in your mouth, you would probably spit it right back out.
Yeah.
Because they're super bitter.
Yeah.
Okay. They just like don't taste that good. But to a deer, they love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Interestingly, in a red oak, the tannic acid is much higher. The tannic acid or tannin helps preserve the acorn. Okay.
Yeah.
So red oaks don't necessarily drop every single year. They may drop every other year. Okay.
Yeah.
But when they do drop, they don't germinate and or like try to grow into a tree until the following spring.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you get out there and it's like maybe in the springtime, it's January, February, March, and you're walking on something, you see a bunch of these dark acorns, it's probably red oaks.
Yeah.
Because they preserve a lot longer. They don't germinate right away.
Yeah.
They have higher tannic acid. The tannin's higher, they're more bitter tasting.
Right.
Whereas white oaks, the tannin is much lower. So they spoil a lot faster. They germinate faster. You follow me?
Yeah.
White oak trees, bur oaks, they fall those acorns every year.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's kind of a balance catch-22 because it's, I guess I don't feel like I've ever been like, oh, I watched that deer walk right by white oaks to go to red oaks.
Yeah.
But generally, white oaks are less bitter, red oaks are more bitter. Deer are naturally probably going to gravitate towards those white oaks first. And then eventually they spoil and they eat them all up.
Yeah.
And eventually when times get tough, they'll go to those red oaks too.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah. Late in the season or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so just something to think about. Like I said, it's kind of a catch. They're not going to last forever.
Yeah.
But when you're in September and October, and we know that these deer are trying to put on weight, they're trying to eat, they're going to more of a kind of a nocturnal part of this cycle.
Yeah.
That's a great place that you might be able to catch them. Yeah. Maybe not catch them on their feet during the day, but you can catch them on camera and you can start to establish, okay, this is where they're bedding, this is where they're feeding. Where are they trying to? So big thing I would say is again, all of this really lines up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, their testosterone's starting to increase. Their velvet's starting to shed. They start to want to try to communicate a bit more and figure out who's who.
Yep.
They're trying to still put on weight and they're really still thinking feed. You know what I mean? And so again, we just see that pattern start to change.
Yeah.
And I think looking for those white oaks can be another piece of that puzzle to try to start to understand, again, harvesting and keeping track of whitetail deer, it feels like it's just this constant moving target.
Yeah,
if you think you've got your finger right in the middle, guess what?
You don't.
You don't.
Yeah.
You're pinning the tail on the donkey, but at least we kind of know where on the wall the donkey might be. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
And so take some time, get on the internet. There's a bunch of great videos out there. I mean, not just based around hunting, but just based around forestry, identifying trees. Figure out where your white oaks or bur oaks may be, right?
Yeah.
We know that north central Iowa especially is where it's more quote unquote native or kind of return to the way it was before, is tall grass prairie pothole country with oak trees, right? Native big bur oaks, white oaks, I have oak trees in my yard. I mean, they're pretty easy to find. It's like, oh, that's an oak tree.
Yeah.
Well, but what kind of oak tree?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And again, looking on the ground and finding those acorns is a great way to identify them as well.
I actually have a really slick app on my phone too.
Yes.
I think you got to pay for it, but it works so good.
You can like literally put like
you just take a picture of it and then it like does like a little scan thing and it shows you exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It works really good.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, and I'm telling you, I think that if even in early October, if you can find those white oaks and you can find where they're really ripping it up,
Yeah.
and then you go, oh, okay, oh, and by the way, there's a scrape.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a great place to try to hunt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a great place to go because again, by October, those bean fields aren't lush green anymore. They're turning yellow. Everything is starting to die off.
Yeah.
And they're looking for that other source.
Something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like you said, I mean, it's like candy,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, it's an exciting time of year.
Yeah, it is.
It's all starting to ramp.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see all those bucks hard horned and
Yeah.
see what they start doing here. It's going to be fun.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, after, once you get past Labor Day, we're T-minus 4 or 5 weeks.
Well, for you got youth season in 2 weeks after that, isn't it?
I know it's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about last year. We were in Montana during youth season.
Yep, for the first week.
Yep. And so we had to just push it back.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, like for Jet, it's right around the corner. And for a lot of young people that have the opportunity to youth hunt and moms and dads that are taking them, it's right around the corner.
It's going to be
And if you're the type of person that, I feel like late Muzz, I think early Muzz really kind of gets overlooked.
Yeah.
But if you are the type of person if you've got leased or owned or permission spots and you've got them set up with, if you can get a food plot in the middle of some of those oak flats.
Yeah, exactly.
Your guys call them kill plots. So there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Get those secluded areas because they are still patternable. You know what I mean? You still get them going from point A to point B, point A to point B.
Yeah.
And we see it in September. You're just like, geez, he walks right through here every single day.
Yeah.
I have a spot that I do some depredation hunting until October, and it's not a coincidence. It's a huge kind of spine of a ridge with nothing but burr and white oaks the whole way. What do you see deer doing in there? They're just walking along, and they're just picking them up as they go.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason that they're in there.
Right.
And so if you can find those spots, that's a great place to key in on.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I think sometimes we get in the habit of it's like, well, I'm sitting on a field edge in early October and I'm not seeing any deer. Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't mean that there's not deer there and they might not walk by. There's still a chance.
Yeah.
But you can put yourself in a better position.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Get yourself more in that bubble.
yep. Well, we talk a lot about that. I think that this comes up for me, I think, with a lot of different animals is whatever animal you're hunting is like that bubble.
Yeah.
And we want to try to push against that bubble, right? But we don't want to push it so hard that we pop it.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you pop it, bubble's no longer there.
Yeah, exactly.
If you pop it, he leaves.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to put a little pressure on the bubble. And I think right now we're all kind of looking at the bubble. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah.
you know,
Looking at her, just trying to figure it out still.
please stay here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, please stay.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing to think about too. And we talked about this on a podcast a while back. This is where you're starting to set our goals. We're starting to really kind of think about how we want the season to go, but also understand that you can't control the weather and you can't control the animals, and things change.
Yeah.
There's a chance that the buck that you've been watching all summer, that's not his fall rut area.
Yeah.
Right. That's not part of the home range that he's going to be in. But also remember and try to be optimistic in the fact that if the buck that you've had on camera that he leaves, there's also bucks that are coming in. There's an ebb and a flow.
Yeah.
Do you follow me? The wave comes in and the wave goes out, and a new wave may come in. You maybe get a buck that you don't even have on camera that the next guy's watching.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there he is. Look at Jeff Bergman, guy that works for Ozonics. He's our marketing guy. His son shot an absolute cranker a few years ago.
Yeah.
Never had a pick of it. They had a pick of it the night before.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at that deer.
Yeah.
Here come find out the neighbor had it all summer. Watched him all summer. There he was. Well, guess what? His fall pattern was just a little bit different.
Yeah. Just shifted.
Yep, that axis just moved a skosh, and then all of a sudden it brought him over here, and there he was, and he harvested him. So you just never know.
Yeah.
That's the magic of deer season.
Yeah. Yeah, and I fully suspect that we're going to be really seeing that here in the next couple of weeks. Most of the bucks that we were chasing last year, we didn't have on camera till like late September, early October.
Yeah.
Like I think some more are going to show up.
Well, and I think that's the thing that you and I have to constantly keep in mind too is sometimes you can't see the trees from the weeds, right? Like we get so into it, and we're like, oh my gosh, like why is this camera not like a couple other public spots were like, geez, why they're just not lighting up? We're not getting anything on camera. And then you look back last year, you're like, first nice buck we got was on September 27th. It's like
it's early. It's still early.
It's still early. There's tons, dude. There is a cornfield jungle out there. You follow me? Nothing's forcing those deer off of big open barren fields. You follow me? That's the other thing to remember too, is there's just so much country out there, but those deer can hide right now where they can live their life in total seclusion and total peace and safety. You're not going to see them, maybe they'll be bedded out in the middle of a field holding down a doe come November, but they're not going to be where they are right now. Once those fields get combined off.
Exactly.
And so you just have to try to keep that in mind. Again, it's exciting and it's all going to start to build. I keep saying that over and over, but golly.
Only up from here.
Yep. Only upwards and onwards. Just made that up.
Upwards and onwards.
Upwards and onwards. Upwards and forwards and onwards. Anything with a words on the end is what we're going for.
That's what happens after Labor Day.
Upwards, onwards, forwards, deer words.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Buck words.
I can't wait.
Deer words with our bow words. Killing deer with our bow skis.
But
she gonna be good.
She
gonna be real good.
Yeah, Wisconsin starts in 2 weeks too. Or not 2 weeks.
Oh. Well, dude, what state did I see already had a velvet season?
Is that Mississippi?
Yes. Mississippi I think it's maybe already even over.
It might be done. I think it's just a 3-day season.
Kentucky, right in.
September
I think it's
1st.
Yeah, there you go. Like, happy Labor Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
God, that'd be awesome.
Man, I know. Well, and I think the thing that I think is so intriguing about Kentucky Velvet, and again, Ozonics, buddy, Jason Mears had an opportunity to go down there years ago with Western Kentucky Buck Company. You ever looking for a great place to kill some awesome whitetails? Western Kentucky Buck Company, those are great guys, an outfitter. They do a great job. Shameless plug, but they're legit.
Yeah.
The magic about that is that, and I'll never forget, this is not related, but related. I was in Northern California. I was Columbia blacktail hunting. Well, they have Thule elk there. I'll never forget, I watched these two big Thule bull elk walk into this thicket, both in full velvet. I mean, full velvet. Like, oh, wow, look at that. They walk in the thicket. I'm watching this bull break this tree. He comes right back out, like walked in 15, 20 minutes later, comes back out, completely shed. I'm like, what the heck? So I'm like, what the heck?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and that's the reality of Kentucky velvet. They are balancing on this tightrope of full velvet, hard-horned. Full velvet, hard-horned. Now, again, obviously, guys are looking to try to shoot him in full velvet, but I'm pretty sure if he walks by a hardhorn, they're still going to harvest it. But that's the funny thing is, like, he could be one night in full velvet, and the next morning, he's hard-horned.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they can shed it fast, too, or all of a sudden, then it just starts to hang, and they've got this one, and they've got this one hanging off. So it's just such a fine line, and they're right on that teeter-totter when those deers, their behavior and pattern just completely switches.
Yeah.
And so that can be so feast or famine.
Yeah.
It can go so perfect, and then also can just be like do 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 do, you know. But that's really, really exciting stuff. And again, guys are that's full on kickoff mode. Just like in the spring, how you guys go to Florida and start shooting turkeys in it's really, March. It's like, here we go.
It's the same thing.
It's time.
Yeah.
And so it's getting to be that time.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Like I said, it won't be long. Like I said, Labor Day, and then we get into September, and then all of a sudden it's October, and then we're hoping for a cold front, baby.
Yep.
And if we don't get one, we don't get one. But you hope for it.
Accelerator to the floor.
Onward, forward, upward.
But
I say we ended at that.
yep.
Be ready. It's going to start getting good. Hunting season's here. If you've already been hunting, I'm jealous.
You have been hunting.
Yeah, I know I have. Still got a couple more doe skis or deer skis to try to harvest.
2 more.
Yep, got a couple more to kill.
Yep.
Yep, like I said. And hey, I have to get to the locker. I'll tell you that right now because I've got a bunch of sweet corn in the freezer. I got a bunch of deer hamburger from last year that I had to bring to my house because the freezer at the office all of a sudden was on the fritz and we noticed everything was melting. So we had to make an emergency trip to my house. So that's all in the freezer in the garage. Well, then guess what? So now I've got 3 deer worth of Tupperware, boned out Tupperware containers. I get these Tupperwares. They're about the size of a, piece of, office paper, a little bit bigger than this. And they're nice and thick. I get them at Walmart wherever cheap, 4-packs usually with nice little lids. I got 2, 7 of them in my freezer, and I had to really finagle it. I'm thinking all the time. I'm like, man, I got to get these in here because there's no way Tatum's let me put one of these in the house freezer. She'd be like, no way. Nice try, get it out, figure something else out. I was like I had to stack them and balance them. But I got to get those out of there. And I already got 3 of them accounted for. I got Sheila taking 1 and I got Lou taking 2. I think I'm probably just going to figure out the total weight and then do 2/3 to Lou and 1/3 to Sheila. So I already got 3 already accounted for. And Deb wants as many as I can give her. So I'm already behind.
Yeah. Got to get to a locker.
I know. Listen. Shameless plug again, Elma Meat Locker. That's my place, man. It's a little bit of a drive from Clear Lake Mesa City, but they do such a great job. That's where I always take it.
Staple.
Yep. And if you're looking for a good fresh cut ribeye, also a good place to go.
Ding.
Yeah. Onward, forwards, upwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm already at a fever pitch. All right, let's end it. I'm getting all excited. I'm getting a little shaky.
Yeah.
It's got to be about lunchtime too. I can tell I'm getting a little hangry here.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Hey, another podcast in the books. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
Ozonics Killerwinds podcast done. Get out there. Happy Labor Day. Enjoy the day off. Maybe get out there and do a little scouting. Look for
boots on the ground.
Look for some white pines. Look for some white oaks. Hey, look for a white pine too. Hey, you never know. Cool tree to find.
Yep. See you next week.
Stay classy.